Round 2 of the VHSL high school football playoffs. We're giving a recap. We didn't do our typical hats hits tweets with the 5 takeaways tonight because we're in round 2 now. So I'm just going to give them to you as they come to my mind. Let you interact with me, give it to you, break it down. I still got the skull cap on. I took the Cardinals hat on. It's still what do you call drying out there, I guess. But we're here to talk about what took place and some things that we got right, some things that we definitely got wronged in the playoffs. I want to start with some of the bigger surprises as we'll share it up on our screen for those watching on the YouTube channel and on X or Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. For those not watching it and watching on Instagram, I'll go through them with you here verbally, and you can check it out later on our other platforms. But let's go from some of the different brackets as we've got, look at this. We got my man Romir Smith tuning in from Phoebus. You balled out tonight. Phantom still got the longest win streak in the state. Balled out. My man Bird Athletics. Good job by you guys. I did say on my preview show, I didn't pick you to beat Matoka, but I thought if the defense came through, it would happen. I am the abominable snowman. You're right. But Phoebus's defense, shutout pitched. We called it on our picks on the VIP board, both Coach Young and I. They will get donuts, hopefully, Ramir and his guys from beating Churchland. But let's go. You see Class 6 here. And I want to start there because two of the bigger surprises tonight, I have been waxing poetic about how great you're frozen, how great we all are. I got to stay in a nice, warm, toasty press box at Powhatan Field in Norfolk. Thankfully, if I was out in the cold, I wouldn't have fingers right now. But you see this matchup with Oscar Smith Highland Springs right here. I'm going to tick off more people by saying this. And if you don't see it, let me tell you that that's your Region 6A championship because Smith beat Manchester 35-0, and Highland Springs beat Glen Allen 23-20. You're absolutely right. Playoff football, run the ball and play D. It's all about that. We talked about it last week. If you can run the ball and stop the run, you got a chance. Championship teams do that this time of year. But what happened in 6B tonight, the Battlefield Bobcats, my Uncle Greg Hatfield and company, they took the L unexpectedly. They had beaten Patriots 7 straight times. And the Pioneers knock off the Bobcats, who had a backup quarterback who was playing well for the injured Callum O'Shea. And now Patriot knocks them out. And Battlefield's had some snake bit moments in the postseason. This is one of those again tonight. It's the 5-seed Patriot versus the 6-seed Colonial Forge in the region final. And all you people that want to moan and bellyache and complain about, we don't need 8 teams in the playoffs. Well, the expanded playoffs, that's what you get because had you not had a 8-team playoff format, it was the old days back when I grew up and walked 15 miles in the snow and we took 4 teams to the playoffs from our region. You had to go 9-1 or 8-2. Guess what? Patriot would have been left home. So too would have Colonial Forge. Colonial Forge, they got John Brown coaching them. Don't let me break up my foot in your John Brown hind parts, as it once was said in Remember the Titans, I think. His father, Bill Brown's a Hall of Famer. Coach Mangano, great coach. Assistant, his son Jake's on the line for Colonial Forge. He used to coach North Stafford. Forge lost to Stafford. Forge lost to North Stafford. They turn around and beat Stafford 45-24. I think one of their players was quoted as saying a miracle can happen twice. It might have been the quarterback. And then they beat North Stafford 17-6 after they had lost to them in the regular season as well. So here they are as a 6th seed going on the road, and I might make them the favorite against Patriot. I know I've doubted you so far, the Pioneers in 2 rounds against Gainesville and Battlefield, but here you are. But I say all that to say this. We talked about it last week, that just because you beat a team in September or October doesn't guarantee you're going to win in November. As I watch on my TV now the last 7 minutes while I talk to you of Arizona Duke, we'll see if Cooper Flag and the Blue Devils can get to the finish line in Tucson up by 7. But what I'm here to tell you is, with Patriot now playing Colonial Forge in the 6B region title game, it means that Region 6A title game with Oscar Smith Highland Springs, in my opinion, is essentially a state semifinal knockout game. Highland Springs, are they healthy enough running the ball with Eric Bird and Dayron Ferguson? Is their line play going to be good enough against Oscar Smith? Because the Tigers right now on defense, they're purring. They've got 2 shutouts. They're getting donuts just like Phoebus and like a lot of great defenses out there. They're hard to move the ball on and score. I give Oscar Smith the edge, and we'll see if Oscar Smith goes all the way through in Class 6, because in Class 6 you still got the situation with the Occoquan Region 6C with Hayfield, who's got Fairfax coming up on Tuesday, West Springfield, Lake Braddock. Moving down to Class 6D for a second, Washington Liberty does it again. They beat Langley 20-14. They're the quietest 12-0 team in the state. We might do a cover story on them on VirginiaPreps.com. Give them a whole big SI spread. We can learn about every position unit on the team. Let people learn about this team because they're a bunch of no-name guys, but they keep winning. And I'm sure their coaches, Coach Shapiro and company, they love that. They don't have these marquee ballyhooed prospects or next-level recruits, but they get the job done. Now they got Madison coming up. And Mr. Nicely, he's been playing rather nicely for the Warhawks. He caught a touchdown pass tonight from Cale Yates. And guess what? Madison had another battle with Westfield tonight. They pulled it out. And look, it's hard to go against what Justin Counts and company are doing. This will be his fifth consecutive, if I've got it right. This will be his fifth straight state semifinal, something like that, if he gets this against Washington Liberty. And Dominic Nicely, though, he's a hard guy to handle. Running the ball, catching it out of the backfield. I think Madison's the team to beat in this thing. Let's go to Class 5 for a second. The game I was at tonight, Class 5 in Norfolk. Maury Commodores beat the Warwick Raiders. But the real drama in Class 5 was in Region 5A. We'll get to Maury Warwick in a second. But 5A, Green Run, Indian River. And I felt this was a 2-touchdown win for Green Run coming in. I picked it 28-14. A lot closer. Indian River had it. And I haven't seen the video yet, but I spoke to someone before I got on the live here tonight that was watching the NFHS live stream. And they told me, this is what they told me, they thought the Braves got robbed. They got robbed with the basketball, and they got robbed. Now, I wasn't there to see it. I'm not saying it was robbery, thievery, anything. Sounds like extra points were missed in the overtime. Green Run scores, misses its PAT. Indian River, after its touchdown, gets flagged for a excessive celebration, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, pushes the kick back 15 yards, and they miss it. Green Run's defense stiffens, though. Let's give Green Run's defense credit. They held them to a field goal. 19-16 Braves in the second overtime, and then Green Run scores it, I think, on a 4th and goal touchdown run by the quarterback, Hassan Farrar. But Indian River feels they were robbed. Green Run, though, got a battle from Indian River, who beat them last year 10-7. We'll see if this hardened and makes the Stallions better. But this is opportunity time now for a Green Run alum, and Mark Hall. He's taking on his alma mater in the region championship. Salem got a tussle from Bayside in the quarters, 14-7. Didn't have any problem with Deep Creek, 42-3. They lost to Green Run back in early October. It was not much of a ball game. It was all Green Run as Jaden Anderson and Kassan Farrar and company had their way with the Sun Devils, 40-18. Has Salem's defense tightened the screws enough to give themselves a real shot in this ballgame? We will find out. My gut says probably not, but I will tell you Salem has weaponry on offense. With Kassir Patterson, Fabian Wells, who just reopened his recruitment, and Scooter Williams at quarterback, and the area's leading rusher in a 7.57 and Willie Moore. So we'll see. Region 5A Finals got a little intrigue to it with Green Run Salem, 2 district rivals. Green Run, very fortunate. It's all about surviving advance. Hey, you don't have to apologize to anybody about how you won it. Even if there was a shaky call or you didn't play your best, all that matters is you got the W, and Brandon Williams' team did that, and they're marching on. They might see Maury in a couple weeks. Speaking of Maury, looked mighty good tonight, especially in the first half. That defense was balling out with Carlton Smith, the Eastern District Defensive Player of the Year, going to Maryland, and Leslie Hines and Ari Watford, the Clemson commit. By the way, Clemson's playing South Carolina next week. Wait till you hear what Kendall Daniels, your teammate RES, say coming up on 757 Saturday Sports Talk about Gamecocks Tigers next week. Kendall Daniels, though, he looked like the best player on the field and like one of the best players in the entire state, which he certainly is. 2 interceptions, a pick 6, a couple touchdown grabs. Maury all over Warwick, 41-7. Warwick's offense was stuck in the mud the whole night, and Maury's defense made that a big reason why. It mixed in the running in with Tayshawn Branch. Looked pretty good. If you can't break down the protection of Maury's offensive line, you're just not beating the Commodores. It is that plain and simple. Folks, keep telling you, plain and simple. It's your only chance. Torrey Newkirk at quarterback, he's too good. Those receivers, too dynamic. It's your only chance and only prayer. You got to generate takeaways, get fourth down stops because they're going for it on fourth down. They're going to onside kick you. They're daring, they're bold, they're aggressive. You better be ready for all of it if you want any chance. And that means you, Kingsport, coming up. Bulldogs, defense was pretty consistent the whole night. You beat Nansemond River 35-14. However, you didn't score in the first half. And if you have a first half like that against Morey's defense, you'll be playing from behind. You won't be tied at the half. Can't imagine you'll shut them down for a first half because I haven't seen anybody do that in I don't know how many years. So Kingsport's going to need the offense to be ready to go out of the gates. You got to get a lead on them and make them play from behind. We'll see what kind of a factor Javon Ford is running against that defense. We'll see if Kingsport can establish a formidable passing attack enough to stay up in that game. Kingsport believes it can hang with them because they beat them in a 7-on-7 summer championship at William & Mary in Williamsburg back in June or July. To me, that means nothing because that was July. We were all in shorts and short sleeves. We're now wearing skull caps and long sleeves and hoods and jackets and scarves, and it means nothing now. Go to 5C. Have you heard Bird is the word? The Skyhawks got it done 17-16. Jockey Vaughn made plays. Corey Holland ran the ball. That LC Bird defense looked like the defense that was really starting to stifle people middle of the season. And Matoka's offense didn't explode. It did it against Dinwiddie and lost a close one, back and forth seesaw affair. Tonight, just 16 points. It was the perfect type of storm for Bird to get them. Now, we thought it would be Louisa who had the lead on William Fleming, but the Colonels, who learned something from the loss they had at Stanton River, found a way to get it done against this Lions team that has two of the most explosive players in the class of 2026 in all of VA and on the East Coast, and Savion Hyder, Dajier Carter. So you look at defenses winning championships. We've talked about it with Madison and Oscar Smith and Phoebus having shut you down type of defenses. Battlefield had that and Battlefield went 12 games this year, not giving up more than 10 points, and they still lost, though they're out. They're done. But William Fleming's offense now has shown it can step up in big spots, 27 points, 30 points, higher than that in a lot of these regular season blowouts they've had. We'll see if the William Fleming offense can set the tone against Bird in the Region 5C final. They're going to be hosting it. Or if Bird's defense makes it a grimy, grinded-out type of game. They were known for that during their championship years under David Bedwell. We'll see. To me, if this gets above the 24-point mark, advantage Fleming. If it stays below 20, 17 or less, kind of where Bird wants it, that's where the Skyhawks can take this and move on to the state playoffs and see either Briar Woods or Riverbend. Now, Stonebridge, I was drinking the Kool-Aid. Wasn't doing it early in the year. I had my concerns about Stonebridge. They played a tough schedule. This was not the same team. New coaching staff taken over as Mickey Thompson retired. Kedrick Golston, former NFL defensive lineman. And here it is. They're out after shutting out Light Ridge 35-0. Riverbend beats them. My man JoJo Thomas, who we shouted out a few weeks ago, he gets not one, not two, but 3 TDs, 35-21. Now they got Briar Woods, 39-27. They beat Massaponax, a 2-9 that finishes 2-10. Not your typical Massaponax, known for its triple option and being one of the more fundamentally sound, hard-nosed teams in the state. Briar Woods has concerned me some. If they come into this game relatively healthy, and they got Brady Carmichael, and they got Trey Dudley, and they're balanced on offense, and the defense tackles better because they have to tackle JoJo Thomas here, I like Mike Burnett and company to get this done. I was with you early on, Falcons. I drifted away. I'm back on board with you. But I must say, I do feel, which I didn't feel when this whole thing started back in August, that the 5C champ is going to make the state final, probably against Morey, by the way, in Class 5. I said moments ago, if you just joined us on IG, that I feel like now with what's happened in 6B, that your 6A champ, whoever wins Oscar Smith Holland Springs, is probably going to find itself at James Madison University in Harrisonburg on December 14th. I'm feeling that way about whoever takes that Fleming and Bird game. Matoka is out. little bit of a surprise to me. Battlefield is out. A little bit of a surprise to me. We'll see if Riverbend or Briar Woods has something to say about that as far as getting to JMU for the state championship game. They both have two really good backs, Thomas for Riverbend and Dudley, who's committed to JMU for Briar Woods. Pretty cool if he ends up staying with that commitment, signs with them, and he plays his final high school game on that field. We'll see if it gets to that. Let's go to Class 4. One upset I did call correctly tonight, which I'll brag about in a moment because I'll get hit about my bad picks. We had Phoebus over Churchland. Not a whole lot there. Phoebus' defense remains great. We know Maricus Banks has got poise on offense at quarterback. Davion Roberts is a bull running it. Hampton beat Smithfield 28-7. We get Phoebus Hampton. Used to be an epic battle. Sorry, folks. Sorry, Crabbers. I just don't see it being all that competitive this go around, simply because Phoebus has had your number, and when you played back on October 5th, it was 37-3. So I can make a case for a lot of teams to reverse the outcome, which I talked about, but those games have to be more competitive than that, and I don't know who does that with what Phoebus' defense has done to Hampton. Now, Hampton's got some good young talent. Marcus Chapman at quarterback is good, but Phoebus' defense I just think is too much right now, and they don't lose playoff games. They just simply don't lose playoff games. I know, Justin Red out there, former Crabber, you're watching it, you're mad at me. Sorry, Justin. I'm just speaking truth right now. Phoebus has got the longest win streak in the state, and the Crabbers are playing better here in the playoffs than they were late in the regular season. Had that tough loss to Warwick, but hard to go against Phoebus in the spot. It really is. Let's go down to 4B, because this to me was the most eyebrow-raising score in the state tonight. Even more than Battlefield going down, even more than Bird beating Matoka, even more than some lower seeds beating higher seeds. Varina, who we shifted our pick about a couple weeks ago when Huguenot had the less than impressive performance in the regular season finale, we turned to Dinwiddie to win this region. But Varina, they're not the same team that let that game slip away in double overtime to Indian River in the opener. By the way, sometimes you get one of those double overtimes, you lose one, and tonight that was the heartbreaker for Indian River in that sense. Sometimes you giveth and you taketh. But Varina shuts out Huguenot 26-0. You say, big deal, big whoop. What's the big deal? Well, that just tells you how dominant, you're absolutely right there, Bird Athletics, how dominant Varina's defense is playing right now. Think about this. They gave up to Indian River in the first game of the year. They gave up 37 points. All right? Varina's defense now, after those first three games, they've given up 7-3, 13-13, 19-0, 14-0. So they shut out PH Ashland. They shut out Huguenot. And they held Highland Springs to 19, won that rivalry showdown. But here's why it's a big deal, because Huguenot with those two explosive wide receivers, game breakers, and Evian Lewis and Markel Dabney. Huguenot came into this game averaging 49.6 points per game. That's nothing to sneeze at. I don't care if you're playing Sisters of the Poor. That's a lot of points. And Varina's defense, that's an awesome job by Marcus Lewis and his coaching staff to go in there and shut them down entirely. I'm sure the weather didn't help the way Huguenot plays. More of a finesse team, let's just call it what it is, than a grinded-out physical team. But my goodness, that is some impressive stuff. And now it makes me wonder, can Varina duplicate that if they have to go to Dinwiddie and stop that tempo with Harry Dalton and McKeel Johnson and all those different pieces, Caleb Bowles that get involved for Billy Mills' Generals? It creates a really, really compelling championship game potentially. That is if King George and the Foxes don't have something to say about it and knock the Generals off. But Varina's looking strong. And Phoebus out there, they might be coming for you. Might be coming for you. I know you got the old rival coming up in Hampton, but if Varina gets through that could be not a state semi, but a state final matchup at Liberty, a Phoebus Varina. A lot of people like to see that. We haven't seen a Phoebus Varina. That would be something to watch in Class 4 at Liberty. What about 4C and 4D? It's John Champ and Tuscarora. We'll have some time to break that game down. Both teams won comfortably. We want to see how both are in terms of the health and what they're doing, dive into that more. But that's a matchup we've been dreaming about since late August, early September, and we've got it now. 11-0, 10-1. I'm glad about it because there's a lot of talent on the field, a lot of good skill position players on the field, and I want to see which line of scrimmage can kind of control things. That's where football games are won. It really is line of scrimmage. I want to see which line of scrimmage can control it. My initial gut is thinking Tuscarora, but John Champ's been scoring a lot of points, and if they give their quarterback Brendan Pena and those receivers time to throw, they're going to make hay. We called Salem beating GW Danville. It happened 24-3. Defense smothered them, running the ball, and now they get Sherando. And Sherando, 20-14 over Jefferson Forest, who had a couple of key guys out. Salem is a 4 seed. They're used to playing in state championship games and competing for hardware. They lost Peyton Lewis to Tennessee. They lost Chris Cole to Georgia. But here they are, and it's not a real shock. It's not a real shock. It is to some, but not to me. Salem is used to getting to this spot. Class 3, what you got there? Across the board, we'll go through this a lot quicker because we're just dragging on time-wise, and we got a minute and a half left in this Duke-Arizona game with Cooper Flagg trying to show that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread in some people's eyes, I guess. And he hits a little floater there mid-range. Lafayette all over Colonial Heights, 56-7. I was surprised Norcom and Tab was as close as it was. Maybe some concerns for me for Norcom's defense, and if they can hold up against Lafayette's ground and pound attack. Norcom's got speed, they got athletes, but I'm not as confident as, and you're right, C. Meyer, 66. Fleming did beat Louisa in a heartbreaker. We just talked about it a little while ago. Louisa was right there, and it begs the same question we asked with Cox last week against Deep Creek. You score, you go for 2 there. I'm sometimes not understanding why these teams are going for 2 in these spots. I know they wanted to go for the win, but go to overtime, go to OT. Lafayette, though, looking really strong. 3B, they had a heck of a game with Kettle Run and Armstrong tonight. 36-34. Kettle Run does it. We haven't seen a team slow this Kettle Run offense down, and I'm not sure if it happens. Although TJ's defense, I think they've held just about everybody they've played to 14 or less. They've got some really, really firm hitters on that defense, all 3 levels, especially in the front 7 area. And their defense is believing it's up for the task to slow down Colton Quaker and that Kettle Run backfield that gets huge chunks of yardage. That's a really good region championship, and that's the best one on the board to me in Class 3. It's better than Liberty Christian, Turner Ashby, and it's better than William Byrd, Lord Botetourt, as well as Lafayette Norcom. Sorry, guys. Now, Turner Ashby, you guys continue to pile up points in the 40s. Bew Baylor, I think, had 5 TDs. My man Robert Edmonds was covering that for us on Virginia Preps. They overwhelm Allegheny. Liberty Christian gets by its Seminole District rival in the Heritage of Lynchburg, 35-14. Turner Ashby's defense has been underrated this year. But now, do you have the formula? Does anybody have the formula to slow down Gideon Davidson? And unless Liberty Christian is going to play up in a division and play someone like a Phoebus, a Verina, a Maury, and Oscar Smith, a Madison, I'm not seeing anybody's defense slowing down Gideon Davidson running the ball. And plus, we've talked about him so much. The freshman quarterback, Mr. Jackson for LCA, has given them some semblance of a passing game. Their air attack is not totally non-existent, which at times it was a couple years ago. They can complete some forward passes down the field if needed and when they call for it. Liberty Christian, though, going to be hard to beat. Lord Botetourt, William Byrd, these two played a real close to the vest, white knuckler type of game, middle to later part of the regular season. Botetourt won that one. Their defense made some big adjustments to slow down Magna Vista and its speed, 36-19. I like that sign there. Didn't let them get 6, made them have to kick some field goals. Byrd outlasts Abingdon 28-23. Their defense was great the week before. I'm really interested to see if William Byrd's defense is up for just the physicality Botetourt's going to bring to the table running the football with Overbay and those backs they have. That's going to tell the story a lot in that matchup. Class 2, we go there here to get ready to finish things up. The 8C was a nice story in Madison County, and B, they lose to Buckingham. They'll get Strasburg, who knocks out Riverheads. First time in forever, Riverheads is not playing in a state championship game, 35-7 there. In 2A, Poquoson had a bit of a struggle. It took an Eli Tyndall touchdown pass to Dom Galakak to give the Islanders some breathing room in that matchup with Lunenburg. I think it was a dislocated shoulder for one of the key guys for Lunenburg and Tony Jones, who they missed in that game, I'm sure, down the stretch because he means a lot to Coach Will Thomas's Chargers. But Poquoson gets a battle of this one tonight, and they pull it out. Much harder again than they had with John Marshall. They get King William now, the 7 seed, who we thought when the brackets came out, they would be the team that gets to play the Islanders, and they do. Poquoson King William rematch of last year's region semifinal game. They've met before in the playoffs. They beat Bruton, and they're playing their best football at the right time of the year. We'll see if King William has enough defensively to slow Poquoson's punishing running game. And special teams could be a real X factor in this one. They got a really good punter, does Poquoson, and Josh Mitchell. He gives them excellent field position. He boots it, pins teams inside their own 20. That can be an X factor for Poquoson, not just in this game, but possibly moving forward beyond that state playoff time. He's one of the very best punters in the entire state any class and deserves a shout out, which is why we're giving him one now. Going down to 2B, Strasburg, Buckingham. I can see Coach Young and I disagreeing about that. He's going to like Buckingham in this game. I'm going to like Strasburg in this game. Buckingham's defense, though, I love the way they're playing all year long with Will Motley and that crew at linebacker. And they're hard to move the ball on if you're a team that's used to playing tackle to tackle and what you do running-wise. Glenver cruises past Floyd County. Gretna wins a not-so-pretty offensive battle, or offensive struggle, I guess we'll call it, with Radford 14-7. I think Glenver's going to get to the Class 2 state semis and take this region. Now the question is, can they get through what's waiting for in Graham and Union to me? These two are quite familiar with each other. Union plays Graham better than anybody else. Do the Bears have enough here with their running game to, with Keith Chandler, keep Graham's offense off the field? It's a big question because it feels like Graham is a little more balanced and diverse offensively, and their defensive line of scrimmage can control things in this matchup. So I'd give the nod to Graham there. And in Class 1, as we close this up here, I'm going to give you some quick thoughts about what's coming up this weekend in the world of sports. Rappahannock, Essex. It's a rematch from earlier in the season when Essex lost to Rappahannock for the first time in forever, since the 1990s. Essex has scored 136 points in 2 playoff games and given up nil, not a zilch. Rappahannock, you better bring your big boy pants. I know you beat them once before, but this Essex team is not playing around. This is not the same team you played back in September, October, whenever the heck it was. It's not the same team. Alta Vista scores 64 on Sussex Central. They've got Buffalo Gap, who scored 65 on Brunswick. Buffalo Gap is not looking like a 3 seed that went 6-4 this year, but Alta Vista, ever since that first game that was a close call with Lunenburg, they have just been steamrolling people. And right now, they're my pick to win the Class 1 state championship, so I'm not going away from them. I like what they're doing. And then as we go to Region 1C and Region 1D, thought George Wythe would get revenge against Grayson County. They came up just short, 18-16. Bath County, 49-14 over Narrows. They've been putting up 40 a lot this year. Wyatt Campbell at quarterback could be the difference in this matchup with Grayson. Want to see how healthy Grayson is. We talked about it before. One of the Goad brothers was injured, dinged up. If healthy and back at close to full strength, might give the nod to Grayson in that game. And then in 1D, Rye Cove and Eastside, looking like Rye Cove is going to be too much. They beat Eastside pretty handily in the first encounter. I think they were 5 for 5 on 2-point conversions, and they're going to go for 2, I think, if they score. And they might score a plenty against Eastside, who's got a pretty good attack. These are 2 offenses that are really humming here. And that could be a game in the high 30s to 40s, which would be a lot of fun if both do score that type, have that type of game and score that many points. So there you have it. All right, so that closes out all the high school football playoff thoughts. The big takeaways, though, Varina, my goodness, 6B, didn't see Battlefield going out. You've got in Class 3, chalk across the board pretty much, although in 3D you could make a case Lower Botetourt, Williamsburg were maybe not your favorites there. Class 2 and Class 1, mostly according to form now, ever since the shocker of Clark County going out last week. And we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Region Championship weekend. It'll be a lot of fun for Thanksgiving weekend coming up next week. Big games in the world of sports, football wise. Ohio State, Indiana on Saturday. Would love to see Kurt Signetti, who says, Google me, knock off the Buckeyes. But hey, I think Ohio State's been in too many of these big games to doubt them at this point. I think they'll pull it out. If it is close, I don't trust Ryan Day against Kurt Signetti. I'm not sure it's close. I like the Buckeyes by 14 to 20 in this game and make it a late score to make it not as competitive in the closing moments of that one. And NFL, we don't have a Bills Chiefs level game. Guess your best game is Packers Niners. Niners are dinged up with Purdy now out and Bosa now out. I think Green Bay wins it by double digits, though Jordan Love can be a double agent at times and throw some picks. But I think Green Bay takes it. Not as many big time games in the NFL as last week, although the Harbaugh Bowl on Monday night should be fun with Jim and John. We'll see if John gets the better of his brother Jim like he did in the Super Bowl and gets Baltimore back on track in their pursuit of a division title and getting a better playoff seed. Although LA's turnaround has been quite well documented under Jim Harbaugh in year one after Brandon Staley was a disaster as the head man of the Bolts out there in LA once upon a time in San Diego. That's going to do it. We'll be doing our show 757 Saturday Sports Talk from the Plex in Virginia Beach. Tailgate starts at 10. You say for what, why, when, where? Well, the Neptune Bowl's coming up. If you haven't heard, should be a lot of fun. Coach Young and I will be there for that. Prentice School versus Atlantis University. Come on out, say hello. Enjoy the football action with us. Game's going to kick off at 2. We'll be streaming it on Cova Sports TV. And we'll be doing our NFL picks during the show. We'll go through all the normal things we do with the high school football, the brackets, the games, the scores, and interact with all of you out there. So enjoy your sports weekend. Stay warm out there. Stay safe. Have a happy holiday and a great Thanksgiving. And we'll talk to you on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. from the Plex. Take care, everyone. Enjoy all the sports, football, basketball. We got a ton for you. Potpourri. See you later.